Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's old Mulligan here. Lance's a little under the weather today. He'll be back, though. And I want to say hello to that long-legged Susan down there to tell you. Woo, it's freezing down here in Florida. It's 36. I don't know where you're at.
I'm in California, and it's actually gotten down as low as about that low, too, here.
It's about 35 over here in Louisiana. It's good.
Well, we're all
pretty
in
cold
good shape.
Yeah.
We're all scattered all over the place. How are you doing today, Mr. Green? Susan, are you there? Sue?
Susan, he asked you how you were, hon. Did you lose her?
I don't know if I hear her on there. I'm assuming she's on the line.
That's the reason, Felix, that's the reason I don't use my mobile, because every time we get on the radio, we drop all the time. But she'll be back in just a minute, I'm sure. But
okay, if you can hear us, Sue, please try to give us a call back if you're there. Otherwise, just join us here as soon as you can.
Yeah.
But we'll go on with the show here. We had Blackjack Mulligan here last year to tell us a little bit about his career in professional wrestling, and we knew exactly when we had him on, we had to have him come back, because I know his career spanned over several decades, and not to mention the fact he's got his son that was in the wrestling business, Hall of Famer. Both of his sons actually were in the wrestling business, and his grandsons are in the wrestling business today. So it's in your blood. It's in your blood.
Felix, it's got we just had Christmas and Thanksgiving, and I'm so happy to see those boys doing well. I mean, Bo Dallas is the young boy, and he's just phenomenal. And then there's Wyatt or Hyatt, the family there. Trey
Wyatt.
He's Wyndham to me. His name is Wyndham Rotundo to me. I don't know what Wyatt, Trey Wyatt, just doing a one heck of a job. Then of course there's Mike Rotundo, their daddy, who was a great All-American at Syracuse. I mean, he was a national champion wrestler and an All-American football player. So Stephanie kind of married. He was handpicked though for Stephanie, so that's the way that happened. Susan, are you back yet? I can't believe we lost her. But anyway, things are going real good down here. I'm just taking it easy, Felix, and I appreciated you getting a hold of me. And I'm just, as a matter of fact, I was down at the barn, and I rushed up here right quick. I got a cow fixing to have a calf down there. But 36 degrees is not too bad for Florida. That's the reason I live down here. I mean, I've had them out there in Austin. When me and Dusty had that place there in Austin, the Headlock Ranch, I got a call one early morning. It was raining and sleeting out there, and I had 5 cows down that were having calves, and I had one that was having a real problem. We had to pull that calf. I don't know if you've ever pulled a calf before, but it's a device.
No.
It's not funny.
I've seen it happen though.
Yeah, and it's messy and horrible, plus expensive. You got to hire the doctor to come out there, then you got to help him, and it's terrible. I won't go. I was to say what happened. Man, I mean, that calf come popping out, and right in the middle of the winter, we lost the cow, but we saved the calf. But anyway, what I'm saying is it's a lot better being down here, and I got a vet right here right now, so we're doing fine, Felix, and California, it must be nice out there. But
well, actually, it's been nice, but it's been really cold, and with me catching a cold, it's just not working with me. I'm going from warm to cold weather and back and forth, and it's not doing obviously any favors for my cold at the moment. So, Austin. Actually, was going to say, you know what? I'm wondering if she's calling in on a different line. Let me see here real quick. I definitely want to make sure we get in here. Give me 1 second.
You should see in Louisiana. It's hot one day and it's cold the other. It's going to be 65 and Thursday. Right now it's 36 degrees.
Sue, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Green, is that you?
Yes, it is. I'm here.
Hey, man, we got her. All right.
Hey, Miss Green, how you doing? We lost you in Louisiana. I didn't know where Susan was at. I thought maybe she was over in the South Texas there, but I guess she's in Louisiana. How you doing, Susan?
No, I am in South Texas.
Oh,
yeah, she's in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Austin's actually in Louisiana at the moment.
Yeah, I'm doing very well. If the weather would get a little warmer down here like it normally is, I'd be a lot better.
I feel it. We got 2 Hall of Famers on. WWE Hall of Famer Blackjack Mulligan and NWA Hall of Famer Susan Green. Both, I mean, some of the best in the world has ever had.
Oh, thank you.
And, you know, you guys actually worked together to create a church. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, we're both going to churches, not the same one though. A lot of our lives has changed, and you know, I spent a long time. I'll jump onto that. So I'll let Susan talk there. I'll just yap on. But I mean, I spent so many years of my life wasting it, and I mean, in bars and stars and stuff like that, and hanging out. And I just it come a point in my life where I had to make a change, and I did. And I appreciate y'all help support the church. I sure do. Dr. Michael Thrasher, I want to thank you for helping me out, and Dr. Chris Whaley, also a friend of mine who's a doctor of theology, and they really helped me out a lot, helped me out with my career a lot. And I know Susan, she goes to church all the time, and it's just, I tell you, I wish these young kids, these young Broncs, would get onto the message, but it's hard to when you're up there making that big money, and you're on a roll, and you just think, well, it ain't never going to stop for me. Go ahead, Susan. I'm sorry.
It's one of those things that they don't think it's going to stop, but it can stop in the blink of an eye. Takes one injury and you're out. And most of them that are up there don't look to the Lord. You know,
Susan, I actually do want to ask you a question. You came up in the wrestling business, and you were really, I mean, you were trying to get, how did you come about to, well, let me put it this way, how did you get your start, and what is it about wrestling that attracted you to want to be part of it?
My father was a wrestling fan.
You got a whooper to go out with her, Felix.
What's that?
You got a whooper to go out with her. If you want to date with her, you got a whooper first. That's how. No.
Yeah. So, he was a fan, and I became a fan. I started going to the matches when I was only 5 years old, and Joe Blanchard and Floyd Emerson was running Corpus, and then I started aggravating them about the time I was 6 years old, and they kept telling me I had to get a little older, and then I saw my first girls wrestling match when I was 6. And actually, I ended up wrestling both of those ladies when I actually got broke into the business in 1969.
Nice.
They ain't nobody put a saddle on her yet. Both of us, we come from Corpus down there in South. No, I'm telling you, you take a big deep saddle, get on her. But anyway, she's a tough gal. She'll whoop your tail if you get smart with her. But anyway, Susan and I, it's very unique that we crossed paths young in our careers. I had just got cut, or I'd been hurt from the New York Jets. I'd broken my leg, and I'd moved to the beach down there, and I was running on the beach, and Wahoo come into town, and they gave me a call, said pick me up at the airport, so I did. So I went to matches one night and met this fellow, Floyd Emerson, who really had a lot to do with my life and Susan's life, and introducing us on up the line from there to Joe Blanchard. Then I went under contract after 6 months. Susan and I, we didn't break in like under the air-conditioned television studios. Vince McMahon, there was an old barn down by the railroad tracks, and I first saw Susan there, and we were both sopping wet, sweating, and I don't know how in the world, there must have been 25 Mexican boys helping us. We were very lucky, because it's very hard to get somebody to help train you. But Floyd arranged it, and we had so many guys to work out with, so many people, little Ruben, little Gordo, Mario Rios. These guys, they're all gone now, and Mario may be preaching somewhere. But we had to work in a gym. They can't call us a gym. It was 130. Yeah, go ahead, Susan. Tell them about the gym we worked at.
It was a warehouse turned into an arena called the Sportatorium. That the air condition was no ceiling fans in the place. They rolled up the big roll-up doors and had a cross breeze. You just prayed it was coming from the east and the west, because if it was coming from the north and the south, there was no breeze.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the first I spent 6 months there, and I was puking every day, throwing up. Those boys worked me out. I could actually, looking back, I know Susan and I almost have to laugh, because these boys working this fast style, I call Mexican style on TV now. Yeah. We could do that then. They had us doing that then. I'm talking about a few years ago. I won't date Susan, but we could all do that. And then I went to Minnesota for Vern. Then I'll let Susan tell you where she went. But the first time I had a match up there, I did that. I'm walking the ropes at 6'7", I weighed about 275, 280. He said, "What in the world are you doing? Taking these bumps and flying all over the place. We don't do that here. You don't go down. You don't go down till I tell you." So that's the kind of atmosphere that we were trained to. We were very, very well trained, and so we had to slow it down a little.
What was it like working with Vern? Was he as tough as they say he was?
Oh, yeah, he was a very tough guy. He was an amateur. He wrestled in the 48 Olympics. Him and Maurice Vachon. They were all together in the 48 Olympics, and there was a whole clique there. There was Joe Blanchard. Joe Blanchard's how me and Susie got in. Joe Blanchard, they all played in the Canadian Football League. Wilbur Snyder, Dick Athlas played with the Green Bay Packers, the Bruiser, and Gene Knitsky played with the Edmonton Eskimos, and Bob Geigel. They were all football players, and Joe was from Kansas originally. But Joe sent me to Minneapolis, and I believe Susan wound up out there in South Carolina. I'll let Susan tell you that. I don't know.
He sent me jobs. Well, he actually sent me up to work Tennessee one thing. He was trying to break my spirit and not want me to be a wrestler, and he sent me up to Tennessee, and I worked with Cora Combs, and she about beat me to death. And the next day I come driving back home. My sister actually had to drive me up there because I was too young to have a driver's license. Got up there, and then when I came back to work out with the guys at the sportatorium, he sat there and said, "Well, I guess you want to quit now." I said, "No, I was wondering when I'd have another fight." And
yeah.
It was like, okay.
You actually got to work with Moolah a little bit too, didn't you, Susan?
Yeah, I ended up when I graduated in 1971, he had brought Joe Blanchard had brought Freddie Nicolai and Sandy Partlow in, and he said, "I want you to talk to these ladies and let them tell you what it's like, the road." And I went back there, and they started talking, and Joe was sitting there, and they said, "You know, if you want to make a living out of wrestling, you're going to have to go to Lillian Ellison." And I thought, "Joe, do you know who that is?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, can we call her?" And he said, "Well, yeah, we can." So he arranged it with my parents to make the call when they were there. And I said, "I graduate May 31st. And she said, "Can you be here June 5th? And I said, "Yes." And, of course, when I got out there, she said, "It's going to cost you $300 to be trained." And I sat there and said, "Well, I'm already trained. I've already been wrestling 2 years. I've wrestled Mae Young. I've wrestled Cora Combs and Evelyn Stevens and Becky Nick." And he was saying, "Well, you still got to pay me." And I thought, well, I'll pay you. Just I want to wrestle, And of course, my mother had rode out there with me to get me all set up because I was only 16 years old.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know that. See, I was only 14 then.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
He was playing awful young for the Jets, Joe Bob.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to go ahead and send out best wishes to Mae Young for a speedy recovery. She hasn't been doing too well health-wise.
Oh Lord, yeah. Those are. I'll tell you a quick little story about Cora Combs. I left there and went to Minneapolis, and I left on a contract. It's a little easier on the guys than the girls. Susan had such a hard time really breaking it in. Boy, she was a tough gal, and she stuck with it. Gagne signed me to a contract, a paid contract. Of course, I had a couple of kids and a wife towed behind me, and I had to make a living right away, in which I did. But Cora Combs, was an old gal from Nashville, Tennessee, one of the great wrestlers, old-time wrestlers. And I was a big, I got country music on right now. I was a big country western fan. And she went out with a couple of guys that was big singers. And I run into Cora one night in Indianapolis, and I said, Cora, I'm going to try to get booked into Evansville in this. Can you have Webb Pierce there? I love Webb Pierce. Oh, you wouldn't know him, Felix. He's an old country western singer. he was just awesome. But anyway, I love. And she said, sure. She said, I'll bring Webb to the matches. Let's see if I can get you booked. Well, I mean, I was getting booked by everybody. I'd already been to New York on top there, and I got lucky. I'm the only guy in the business that started on top and worked my way down. I worked my last job was working with Ric Flair and made him the world champion, and that was about the finish for me. I spent a lot of good years there, but I actually did. With Gagne, you got a real good start, but I spent 2 years of misery out on the road, just like Susan. I mean, getting the stuffing beat out of me. I mean, in the Villes and the Bergs and beer halls and beer bottles thrown at you and people cussing and screaming, and up in some of that North Dakota weather like right now. They wouldn't cancel the show. They'd run the show, and I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like right now, they'd have wrestling up there. It'd be 30 below, 15 below, and the play wouldn't be a parking lot in the lot. Come 8:30, the place was packed. I don't know where they come from. They crawled out of the ground or something, out of rocks or something. Yeah. But Susan, I know you went down there and had a rough time. I just.
Oh yeah, and you know, with being a woman, you had to totally live out of your suitcase. We never went into a territory longer than if we were in a territory for 3 weeks. You know, it was very unusual. Normally, we went into Georgia 1 week, we'd be over in Alabama for a week, jump over into Oklahoma a week, and it was just you lived out of your car and your trunk. You know.
Did you actually ever make it up to work for Vince Sr.?
I did work for Vince Sr. He used me quite often. You know, he sat there and said he liked to use me when it was winter up there because I was the only one that knew how to drive. And if I saw the boys rolled off in the ditch, I would stop and get them out. They wouldn't have to get a wrecker. We would figure out how to get them off from where they slid into the medium or off the turnpike to make the town. And I worked quite often for Vince Sr. You know.
Susan worked all the big shots. She was. She's got them big old long legs, boy. They go all the way up. She's big. How tall are you, Susan? 6 foot tall.
6 foot. Yeah, 6 foot.
Big tall gal, and she looked good in that ring too. And boy, she could kick tail. She's one of the few girls that of that past era. I better be careful what I say. That past era that could be a diva now could actually be working with Vince now. When we were doing the Hall of Fame deal, I told Moolah, I was running into Moolah there, and I said, now, Moolah, this is what girls look like, you know, and she got all pissed off with me about it. Most of those girls with Vince are not wrestlers. They're just, I don't know, what are these, Susan?
Pretty faces.
They're eye candy for TV?
They're the eye candy. You know, it takes them longer to get in the ring than their matches.
Exactly.
And they used to want us almost to run to the ring because they wanted us to do at least 30 minutes.
Did you ever get the opportunity to work with Sherry Martel?
I did not get to work with her. I had met her and actually was we were inducted the same year to the Cauliflower Alley.
Nice. Okay.
Award, you know, the same very sweet girl.
I was there the night that got almost like 2 weeks later she passed away. I really felt bad about that.
Yeah.
A lot of guys felt a lot of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sherry was one of a kind.
Definitely. But anyway, Susan had, and I didn't. Susan and I got to talking later on, and I was so just aloof from everything. I had doing a lot of business and things on the side, and I run with Flair for 15 years, and that's like out of touch with anything, any kind of reality whatsoever. I mean,
that's Flair for you.
Oh, Lord, please. I'm so glad to get away from him.
And he's still running that crazy now at 68 years old, 65 or so. However old he is now.
And I'm trying to get to him. I'm trying to talk to him. Boy, time's running out, man. I mean, like the old Johnny Cash song, the wind's coming around. And you never know when he's going to be taking names. And Rick needs to. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a real sad story, guys. And Felix, we got time here. We got me tell this.
Oh, absolutely. We got plenty of time.
Yeah,
go for it.
I get a call. I get an email or a post from Beth Harrell. Beth Flair. It was Beth. That was his second wife, and his first wife and my wife were good friends. But Beth gives me a ring, and that when the young boy, I can't think of his name, passed away just recently.
Reed.
And
when Reed.
Yeah. And on his, they were in the same, like a suite at a motel, and Reed was in the next room. And Beth told me that on his iPhone, he was trying to post to me was my name. And the last name on there, this is sad. And
it is, yeah.
He was trying to reach out to me. And I don't know. It just doesn't seem to have affected Rick at all. I don't know. He just keeps on going, and it's over, brother. I mean, the life.
Well, I think that's just his way of taking his mind off of the reality of the fact that his son's gone. He dives right into his work and keeps on with the alcohol, and I think he's still with that one lady. I can't remember her name, but he said he was with a woman.
Wendy.
Not a wife. I'm pretty sure he's not married anymore, but he's with a woman now that was on television with him when they did the wife swap with Piper.
Yeah.
It was about a year and a half ago or so. I can't remember her name, but
Wendy.
Wendy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she is. But anyway, he needs somebody to lead him back. And he won't even speak to me anymore. He called me one night in the middle of the night, about midnight, and I won't go into that. And I just told him, I said, don't bother me anymore. I've tried, and the good Lord, he'll just spend so much time on you, and he'll walk away from you if you don't pay attention. So anyway, it's a great feeling to change your life and do the work. That's what I do now. That's all I do. I just work for people, and I try to raise money for people. I can't raise a dime for them. I can't get people are so hard now. They don't trust anybody. So I enlisted a Catholic organization out of L.A. Lady called me. She was stranded down in Louisiana. As a matter of fact, 3 kids. Her husband was in jail for child molestation. Didn't have no money. Didn't have no gas in the car. So I got hold of my friend, Dr. Michael Thrasher, and Michael Thrasher made some calls for me to the Catholic organization. And the next morning, she posted me and said, there's a box of groceries sitting on my doorstep, and there's a man knocking on my door. Is he from you? I said, he's from God. I said, he's not from me.
Awesome.
I said, Dr. Thrasher has a lot of contacts, and they contacted him. And that's what we do, in a sense, and help people out. I try to when I can. But most people, it's hard to get people to help anymore. People have changed,
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm posing it both to you, Susan, and to you, Blackjack. You guys both got to work the territory days. Do you feel that maybe the territories are needed now? I mean, if they wouldn't have been swallowed up by the WWE, they could still be flourishing as they were back then?
If they could, if everybody would have stayed in their territory and swap talent like they used to swap talent back in the day when everybody would come in and they'd bring in new talent. Working with Moolah, when I went there was 27 of us big girls and 6 midgets that she put on the road. And all she had to do is make phone calls and tell us where to go, and then, of course, she got her cut on the top from our money, So when people thought we was making a lot of money, we were giving her 30% of everything we made before any expenses came out. So, but
When you were working with Lillian, did Vince Jr. ever approach you about coming over to work for him at one point?
No, I left Mula in '79. She sat there and said I couldn't make it without her, and I said, I've got my name. I can make it without you. You know, and I went on to. I've seen more of the world without working for her than I did when I worked for her. You know, she was sending us to Japan and Australia, and I said, I went down into South America and all the states in the United States and Canada she sent us to, but I said, I was in South America and India and Africa, and I said, went into places that I didn't know that I was going into. But, you know, I sit there and they took me, you know, and I now, I still wrestle some, you know, but it's one of those things that if they're willing to pay me, I'm willing to step in the ring. Being as old as I am, I'd rather just do the training at my gym that I train the guys and girls. Most of the girls drop out simply because they want to be what they see on TV, and I tell them before they come there, I don't train divas, I train wrestlers.
There you go.
You know, two of my guys are actually being talked to by WWE, and one of them's actually done SmackDown for them. So, you know, it's just a matter of time before it gets picked up. But one of my big guys, he goes to this big house in the small promotions and little independents. And whenever they find contact with me, this is funny because I sit there and tell them, you know, do not eat before you come out here because I train old school. You know, I don't have air conditioning, I don't have a fan, and I only have the door to come into my building. So whenever you get in this ring, it's going to be hot or it's going to be cold, one way or the other, you know. Well, Furman, a big guy, he come walking through there, and he had a double whopper in his hand, and I, what are you doing?
Oh, no.
He said, well, I was hungry. And I thought, what did I tell you? He said, but I was hungry. And I thought, okay. Well, this is August in a 10, well, not a 10 building. It's a wood building. But it is hot. You know, the thermometer inside the deal is in, it's like 112. And I thought, okay, fine. Well, we sit there and we worked out with having our little match, and I was throwing him here and I was throwing him there. And he'd sit there, and all of a sudden you hear him just do that gurgle on saying, get out, you know, don't do it in my ring, you got to clean it up. He hangs onto a tree out front, and he comes walking back in and starts to sit down, and I thought, what are you doing? And he said, man, I just got sick. And I said, we got a match to finish, get up here. So we had to crawl back up in the ring after he had just puked his double whopper out. And he said,
People don't realize how hard it is. They think that, you know, all wrestling's fixed and all that stuff like that. You got to get your tail in there. And I can just imagine Susan's workout something. You do some of them squats, and you hit them ropes a few times, and your energy just saps you, especially in that heat. And you're wore out. Susan, how can people get hold of you, Susan? Are you still going to be teaching in the future?
Oh, yeah. I'm still going to be running. They can reach me right on my email.
Facebook there?
On Facebook. Catch me
do you do any other social media?
I've been making a lot of appearances with people whenever they've called. I've went to quite a few of the fan fests that they've been having around, and I advertise there. But I'm traveling back and forth between Texas and South Carolina because all my family still lives here in Texas.
Yep.
So I just kind of hopscotch back and forth and keep them, you know, if I got enough people coming. And in fact, I've actually got possibly things working where I'm going to be doing production shows. You know, if things work. Been approached with doing something, and then, you know, they told me they got 12 months to make a decision on it, and it's like, make a decision, you know. We got the ring and we got the building. We can do whatever you want us to do.
Well, that'd be really nice.
Out of working out of all the territories that you guys got to work out of, was there a particular city that was rather more different. How would I put this? It's not like it was more difficult to work in one city than the other. Were they all pretty much the same? Was there any basic differences between the territories that you guys have gone to? As far as the comparison, let's just say if you guys went up to work up north with Vince Sr. and then maybe over with Vern and maybe down in Jim Crockett, just to name a few. I mean, were some differences between them?
Felix, the work in New York was so much easier than the work. I finished my career, actually. It finished me working for George Scott there in the Mid-Atlantic area. It was brutal. I mean, we worked 9 times a week. Yeah. I mean, we had a plane. Flair and I had a plane, King Air, and we'd work twice on Saturdays, twice on Sundays. And I'm the only guy, me and Bill Eadie, to this day, and somebody can break the record if they want to, that did the 9 cages, 1-hour cages, Broadway matches in a cage. It's never been done before. And it's brutal because a cage match is rigged for reaction-wise. A short match, brutal match, not 1 hour. And I almost bled to death one night there. We're in Greenville. And to answer your question, every town is different. Greenville, I found that, Susan, I don't know if you did. I go to one town and walk out, and there wasn't nobody be just sitting there, guy with his thumb up in his nose, picking his nose, and you're going, well, how am I going to get this guy going, you know? So that's the difference now. You had to work your psychology that you were taught to get the crowd going, you know, to work your way up the card. And, I mean, back in my day, if you kicked the ropes, I mean, I had teachers like Red Vastine and Mad Dog Vachon, Edward Carpentier, Butcher Vachon, Red Lions. If you kicked the ropes, they call that cheap heat. You couldn't look out at the crowd and stop and look and pose. That was called cheap heat. They wouldn't let you do that. You had to maintain your heat by wrestling the guy and getting the reaction from the people by what you were doing to the guy, not what you were doing to the people. Now there's the big difference between the wrestlers then and the wrestlers now. These guys are they're scripted, and I eventually went to that too. I scripted a 10-minute match. I said, there's everything you'll need to know within this match, and there's 10 minutes that you'll need to know in this match. You'll be equipped to do every one of these things because, believe me, they don't have any more knowledge than this now. But back then, you had to take every town. I'll let Susan talk. You had to do every town different and work it out for yourself. How are you going to get those people going? And you walked back to the dressing room and said, "My God, are they alive out there? Is there somebody? Is anybody breathing out there?" It's hard some places.
Well, I'm curious, Blackjack. In Puerto Rico, I've heard stories about Puerto Rico, obviously with the issue of Bruiser Brody, and it's just the fact that the Puerto Rican fans are pretty vicious. I mean, especially when you're going against their champion or their heroes. They don't like.
I got cut in '71 with Morales. I mean, I got sliced in Boston. You don't have to be Puerto Rico. This guy come out in the ring and I mean, I was packing them in when I left Susan and those guys down there. I got a lucky break, and the old man called me. He told me to go to my room, and I went to my room. He said, "I want to change you from Bob Windham to Blackjack Mulligan, and we're going to give you a break and see if you can go. What do you want to do?" So I was working with Lance at the time. He was helping me a lot, and so I got on top right away. I opened up in the Garden and sold out. Did all the sellout shows all the way around. My first tour, went to Boston and got stabbed real bad, almost died, and almost quit the business there. So and it was because of the Latin. The Latins get to drinking. I'm sorry, Latins. They let them drink beer at the matches, and they get drunk, and they start getting mean. And I've got more knife marks on me. I don't know if they tried to cut Susan or not. But, I mean, I've been cut more times by the fans. I mean, seriously hurt, very bad. And in Puerto Rico, I was there the night. I got the call from Tony Atlas when Brody was dying, and they were still they couldn't get him out of the dressing room because of because of the fans. The crowd let out, and the ambulance couldn't get in. So Frank, he died right there on the way to the hospital, and that was sad. And that was a totally different issue. That was from a wrestler, not from a fan. So that's another.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Another deal in itself.
Well, did you actually have to deal with that kind of seriousness as far as fans or even maybe other wrestlers trying to attack you for any reason? Fans maybe believing into your character too much or something like that?
I actually had a fan stab me down in Mexico City because I actually worked their champion, and I ended up throwing the belt up over my head when I was walking back to the dressing room, and I learned never to do that again because the security didn't have any kind of guns. They were just men in uniforms and walking, and they weren't real happy because I beat the champion, and I hollered out "Viva la Alamo," and then the next thing I know, I was dropping to my knee because the guy hit me so hard. And I thought, what's all this about? And then I realized, I got something sticking there, so I grabbed it to hold it against me to where I could get to the dressing room. Of course, they sent the doctor in to pull the knife out and sew me up.
Jeez.
And I sat there and said, he left that deposited on me. I'm going to put it in my foot locker, so every time I decide I want to go someplace, I can look at that and see if I really want to go. But Mexico was one of the toughest places that I had to wrestle simply because, and I guess it's because of my remark of saying "Viva la Alamo," which is "Long live the Alamo," and whenever the fight was between Mexico and Texas, we ended up capturing Santa Ana.
Susan, were you working for Lothario then? Who was the promoter?
Or was it Guerrero?
Jose Lothario. Well, I worked for him and his wife a lot in those bull rings. Is that who you was working for?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
That was it.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And now, one of the toughest stuff, we're trying to get the people up. And when the first time I went over to Japan, there in Tokyo, they were actually sitting on the floor, and I thought, now how am I going to do this? And you never heard them say anything, and it was like, y'all got to holler.
Oh, boy.
Do something. Yeah. But, they'd do their little bow down for you, and I thought, Jesus, people, we got to do something. You'd come back.
Well, I'm curious, you guys.
Yep.
I was going to ask you guys, as far as the stories go nowadays, everything goes by so really fast. They don't allow the stories to kind of unfold over a period of time. No. Whereas these kind of it goes so quickly within a blink of an eye, it's gone. The story's done with and concluded. Why do you guys think that the stories are more fast-paced now than they used to be? Like, you could say the champion was Ric Flair, and you Blackjack and him were having a war, and you guys would work it over the next couple of months, have several matches, and your feud would be red hot. I mean, even we can go back and even say the Horsemen.
Because the guys writing the matches are not doing the matches. I mean, they're TV people and movie people, and they have not a clue. Stop, break. If the script was supposed to be like a wrestler would write it, it would be one tackle, drop down, wait for crowd reaction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, reaction. Get up, pick up, slam, wait for crowd reaction. That's what it would really look like if a wrestler was writing a script. Yeah. But the people are writing, these kids are writing these, I say kids, are writing these scenarios, and they don't even understand. And one guy, monkey see, monkey do. All these kids work so fast. Now this all goes down to the school that they've got over here. They've got this unbelievable. Susan, you should see this school. They bought a place over here that's phenomenal, second to none. I mean,
have you actually been in the facility?
No, I have seen it from the outside. Dusty works there, and he tells me about it. He's like in charge of what they call NXT, the group that's coming up next, which Bo, my baby grandson, is a member of. Trey has made it out of there. Wyndham's made it out of there already. But he told me that they've got the state-of-the-art facility for testing physicals, blood, MRIs, everything, broken legs, X-rays, the whole shot. Plus, they're going over and over and over and over and over and over these matches, and the guys that's training them is the guy I trained, but he's doing it fast because, see, the matches, the announcers are all wired into a control booth upstairs, and they're screaming on the line in the ears of the people, do this, do that, do this, do that, and the guy's giving signals to the referee what to do, get moving, get moving, get moving. Well, they can't with Stephanie up there screaming like a maniac, and the other guy, I don't know him, but I know how Vince goes nuts and starts screaming. He never screamed at me because I always run my matches. I never would have scripted, and I just wouldn't do it that way. I mean, Joe Blanchard scripted me a long time ago. Get out there and get your ass and get this match going and sell out and work your way up. If you don't, you're going to stay on bottom the rest of your life. That's the way Vern Gagne was, too. He'd chew my ass out about a few things I would do, mannerisms in the ring. But by the time I left Vern after 2 years, I was so well schooled in the proper pantomime moves. I'm going to try to explain this, Felix. That's a tough question you just asked. How to pantomime to a guy sitting in the first row to make him react and look all the way up. You got to give a guy time for the 50th row time to react to the whatever just happened, because he sees it later than the other guy in the front row. So you have to learn to give time to react to a situation. Now, that's a very hard thing to learn, and it's a hidden learning process that only a few guys can teach. And going back to what you and Susan were talking about a while ago, this thing, if Vince ever goes away, and he may be soon, he can't live forever, the girl will never be able to run it. I mean, Stephanie, well, not because of her ability, because she screams at everybody all the time. Yeah. There'll be nobody working for her. But yeah, this place could break into state territories again. What fun that was, huh, Susan? There was 300 or 400 people working every night, Felix.
Oh yeah.
I mean, think about it. I mean, you had 300 or 400 places to go in the world, not one. So it can happen again. I hope it does for everybody.
Yeah, I do too. Someone asked me if I inherited all this Vince's money, what would I do? And I'd say, let's all split it up. I'm going to let everybody out of the territory. You stay in your neck of the woods, and we'll stay in our neck of the woods, and we can have a lot more talent getting out there and give everybody a lot more chance of breaking into being able to make a living wrestling instead of working for a lot of independents that can't afford to pay you.
Right.
I was going to say about like TNA wrestling. They have the TNA that's out of Nashville, Orlando. Was it Nashville, Austin, or Orlando?
Orlando right now.
Yeah,
TNA wrestling. It's not, I mean, Jeff Jarrett's not part of the company anymore, but Dixie Carter and the Carter family are running that. That's not gonna. I mean, I guess it can't really be compared to competition to Vince and the WWE, but I mean, I would love to see.
Could be. They could be if they get the right teachers.
See it continue to rise.
Yeah, they could be very easily. They've got the TV. If they just had the teachers, they got some of the best talent around. Some of those big kids. You got to get the right kid. And it's just hard to explain. You got to teach them what to do, and you got to get somebody over, and you got to get. They had a guy over, that big Olympic wrestler. I can't think of his name. Big kid, big monster kid. Yeah, Angle.
Is it?
And
Angle.
I mean, there was your guy, and feed him and feed everybody else off of him. I mean, this is very simple to me. I mean, there was your guy that could put everybody over, but not put everybody over. See, that's the secret. Valentine had that secret: put everybody over, but you don't put everybody over. You lose standing up, and you win on your back. That's the way. That's the rule, Valentine rule. And you got, and there's a lot of stuff in between that. What I just said, a whole bunch of stuff.
Who were some of you guys' favorite promoters to work for?
Yeah. What, Felix?
Who were some of your guys' favorite promoters to work for?
Oh, geez. Go ahead, Susan. Vince was. See, back then there was only 3 big jobs. There was the world champion at WWA, Vince, and then there was the NWA champion, big pay.
Yep.
Then there was the tag championships at Vince. And the rest of the jobs were just so-so pay. And until Vince was, Vern had a good pay. He was a good payoff guy. California was terrible. Nashville was horrible.
Oh.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I forgot it. Thank God.
Is it Jarrett?
Oh my God! I'll throw up. Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the worst payoff guys in the world. And then Texas was.
Did you guys ever work for Jerry Jarrett?
I never did. I liked the guy. I met him. I heard he was cool.
Yeah. I never worked for him. He was actually working for Nick Goulas when I was there in Tennessee for Nick Goulas that didn't know how to pay.
Yeah, I didn't know. I think all those guys are all kin to each other. I don't know. But I actually came down to, but see, you can make something out of those yourself. I mean, I came to Mid-Atlantic. I'll give an example. Mid-Atlantic was an accident. I was on my way to New York. I had a 6-month break. Me and Lance were on the way to New York. And George Scott asked me to come to Mid-Atlantic in between TVs, which was 6 months. I went in there and fell in love with the place. And I never seen so many pretty girls in one place in my life, Carolinas. My God. It was me and Flair. We feasted, boy. I'm telling you. Anyway, we had really, seriously, it was a good place to work, comfortable place to work, the longest trips in the world. But we worked hard there, and we turned out the most anybody could ever make back when we went there. I'm talking about 72, was $35,000 a year. Within a year, we had that over $150,000, $200,000 a year. We were making out of that territory, drawing that much. That's how big an impact we had on that place. And then even Florida, I went to Florida and got Florida on fire. I spent my last 45 years in Florida on a guarantee, more than most people ever even see. And I said, look, I'll work this way. I said, if I'm not pulling my load by Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you don't have your nut, if you don't have your money by Thursday, you can fire me every week. I'll just work week by week. I stayed there 5 years. I finally got a fight and quit myself. Got tired of it, and they died the next week. But Dusty and the boys all left and went to Carolina, so it had a lot to do with it, too. And then they popped.
Did you guys get a chance to work with Fritz? With Fritz von Erich?
Oh, God, yes, please. Mercy.
Yeah.
It's in my book. They're in my book. That place is called, and I shy away from it not. The book I wrote, I call it the Insane Asylum. There was something seriously wrong there. I mean, very wrong. You worked for Fritz in Dallas. He was totally nuts. Then you worked for Joe down there, the only sanity place of all. Then Floyd on Thursday. Then you go Friday over to Paul Bosch. You had to kiss his butt, to get over there. And he flew people in. It was a horrible place. All those boys dying there. Bulldog Fletcher, one of the great guys that I love so much. I had my first match with. Went out on the drive. This is horrible, folks, what I'm saying. I'm just giving you the truth. Drove out on the interstate there, took a gun shot, and blew his brains out. Now, this is one of the guys that was a referee there, one of the all-time greats in our business. Guys were committing suicide. There was a curse there or something. There was something wrong in that place. And I called it in my book. It's there. It's sold out. There's not any more of them. You can get one at Amazon. Maybe they're $99 a piece now. But anyway, I called it the Insane Asylum. Yeah, I work with Fritz.
Yeah.
Lord help me. Lord help him.
Yeah.
Did you actually get to work with the likes of like Gory Guerrero?
Oh my goodness, boy, you're really.
I guess so.
Hell no, Felix. I can't be 14 and met Susie at 16 and wrestled with Gory. Yes, I went to college at El Paso, and funny story. Gory was running the gym down in El Paso. Now this is the daddy. I'm talking about Big Daddy of all of them. Chavo, Junior, Eddie, Armando. And we went to the gym and we wanted to be wrestlers. And we were football players at the El Paso, at UTEP. And we told them we'd wear masks. And they wouldn't know. See, it was back against the law, NCAA law, to wrestle an amateur as a professional. So we told them we'd wear masks. And Corey said, "Get the hell out of my gym." Bunch of idiots. Bunch of nuts. No. We were serious. We'll take on anybody in the gym. We were serious. We didn't care. Beat us up. That's what we wanted. We wanted to get beat up. And we loved it. And, Gory Guerrero, great. One of the greats.
And
why do you guys think that the managers are almost non-existent nowadays, and the valets as well? I mean, the managers were so red hot back in the day. With guys like we were just talking about world class. You had Gary Hart, you had Skandar Akbar, I believe. You had Bobby Heenan, Jimmy Hart, Fuji. You had J.J. Dillon, just to name a few. I mean, they're almost non-existent nowadays. And the same would be said, Sherry was, she was also a wrestler, but she was a valet, and I believe even Moolah was a valet at one point in her career.
I don't know, Susan. Maybe I had some of the greatest in the world. I had the Grand Wizard, and he was so hot it was unbelievable. He almost got us killed. Little Ernie Roth.
Ernie Roth.
He was a Sheik's manager, and I was his first guy out of the Sheik. And I'm telling you, literally, almost got us killed every night. And here was this big old goof with this little old bitty guy, and him talking like a little polecat. He was a stinking little polecat. People hated him, and he was something else. And I don't know why there's not managers. Maybe it's because they don't want to play. Well, there's no place for them to work.
But there's no place for them to work, and they're not able to tell the story, and they're making the wrestler do the. They don't have time for a manager to be there to get the wrestler over.
Amen.
Well, right now they've only got Heyman and they've got Dutch Mantel right now, and that's about it.
Wow, big Dutch.
Well, he's still around. He's doing managing right now, but even Paul Heyman, he's been around for over 20 years now too, and he's still a relevant manager, no doubt. But it's almost without those two now, it's almost non-existent. There's really none. When you would see a lot of these young guys that really, they're good in the ring, but their mic skills are not that great. And I'm not saying that I know any better. I'm just looking at it from a fan's perspective. Some people would need a manager, and it would actually benefit them, in my opinion.
Felix, it's very hard. Say you want to be a manager, okay? Now, for their storylines, they're having writers. Vince hires writers, production writers that write books. Now, they do the storylines. Now, okay, you got a manager who wants to come in and manage a team. Well, you got to fight the storylines that the people wrote, plus Vince, plus JBL, whoever the resident booker is for the time, for the minute, whoever they think of next week, the janitor or somebody who's running the show down there, and think up with these ideas. Then you got to fight with them. So that's the reason a manager doesn't exist, is because he has to fight through what he can do out there. Lou Albano was a major. He never, if you'll notice, Lou would never go out when his team was losing. He was always absent. So he escaped for years, see? He could only see him on TV promoting them when they won the belts, or he'd be at the show where they were going to win the belts at the Garden. But if his team went on TV and lost, where was Lou? Oh, they needed to have Lou to be there. He was a master at that. J.J. Dillon was a master at that. I gave J.J. his first booking job out there in Amarillo. J.J. was great at that, and he stayed with Dusty for years. And who was the other guy you met? Oh, my God. Of course, I had Heenan was the best there was. And Heenan just grew up around the wrestling there in Indianapolis. And he was a master at it. He got where he didn't want to manage anymore because it was Sue. He told me one day he was looking for a job, and I helped him get a job there at TBS, that it was too dangerous to be a manager anymore. And I didn't know. I couldn't see it being any more. Oh, he got hit in the head with a hammer one night coming out of Chicago, and when you're coming out of that ring, Susan was just explaining it about getting hit. If you're in a tag team, if you're the last one out, you're the one that gets all the trash. You're the one that gets cut or get hit. Because they'll stick to what I was always worried about was an ice pick. I got hit with an ice pick in the kidney one night, and thank God I was just a little fatter. I always had a little fatty around me, and it didn't just go through very far. And that would have been a slow death. You know, you would have died and couldn't figure out. I saw a wound there. And see, you don't get that anymore. People don't take wrestling that serious anymore because they figure it as entertainment. But they got it so far to the left the other way that they don't even respect it anymore. So what a shame. Not when you can wrestle the mayor of New York or the hotel guy and take it. They draw the biggest house of all time. That's not too serious, is it? Vince, I guess, should have been working from the day one. But anyway.
You know, I wanted to go back and ask you guys about working in Japan. Because basically, I mean, you talk about crowds that are quiet. The Japanese people are very quiet when you guys are wrestling. You got to do something really, I don't know, kind of like spectacular in order to actually get a reaction from them.
They pay attention more to the details.
My spectacular was I was over there with partner Peggy Patterson, and I sat there and we walked out with all the lights turned on at the show at Hiroshima, and of course it was the day that we had dropped the bomb. It was a celebration that day, and whenever the Japanese came walking out, man, there were strobe lights going off, and I thought, oh no, they're not. They didn't give us no show time. So whenever a spotlight hit them, I said I jumped up on the second rope and started acting like I was shooting a machine gun at them. And then, of course, I ended up diving off the second rope and screaming at Peggy, duck. Well, she dived down right beside me. I went, boom. I said, they're dead. We ain't got to work with them anymore. And she said, you are going to get us killed. And the crowd went crazy because I just kept doing my machine gun and shooting the Japanese because they made us walk out with all the lights drawn up, so there was no attention on us Americans coming to the ring. And then when
that's the generation. That's the generation we come from. I had an uncle. Yeah. I had two uncles that died in Guadalcanal, and I got another one that won the Congressional Medal of Honor in Iwo Jima. So how am I supposed to feel? I'm sitting in a bar one night, and this top guy, Kimura, he's running his mouth about how his brother he hated Gaijins, which is us, white guys. He hated Gaijins because his brother was killed as a kamikaze. That's a little dumb. A kamikaze volunteers. And I told him, I said, well, my uncle killed 4 or 5 battalions in Iwo Jima. I just fired it right back at him. So, but that generation's gone. We're all but gone. We're dying every minute. I mean, our group I was a Marine, and we were taught to believe that way, and they were the enemy, and that's just the way it was. We're old school stuff. We don't think the same way, and our time has just passed, and it's time to move on for some of us. But the thing is, those guys now they don't even think about. Mike told me, my son-in-law told me that they made them go down to. I stood like point blank Nagasaki, right where the bomb was dropped. And there's still signs of disease and stuff, tumor and stuff. They made them all apologize. All the Americans apologized for doing that. They took the wrestling team down and made them do it. I would never have done that. They didn't dare ask me. We didn't apologize for nothing. Not with my uncle and losing both my uncles there. And so anyway, that's that. But Japan. But Arabia was another place. We opened up Arabia. That was I was first guys into Abu Dhabi and to Sharjah, real strange places to work. The Sudan, South Africa. I got to wrestle that big Dutchman over there. That was a lovely trip. It was a shoot all the way. He thought he was the champion. He wanted to remain the champion. Lord, he was horrible. And
did you guys ever work, Blackjack? Did you ever work with Angelo Poffo?
Oh yeah, sure. A little small for me, but you know something? He drew a lot of money.
He was a promoter for a little bit too, wasn't he?
Well, it was Angelo Poffo, I'm trying to think of his partner's name. He had two partners, and Aldo Bogni, and Poffo were partners with the manager.
Was it Chris Markoff?
Who?
Was Chris Markoff ever considered? Yeah.
Yes,
his
Chris
partner
Markoff
as
was
well?
in there. I'd go to some towns. This is really weird you said that. Me and Lanza would go to a little town in Indiana and be packed out. And I'd tell the cop there, I'd say, boy, this is a big crowd, man. He said, yeah, but not the biggest. I said, what do you mean not the biggest? Well, he said Poffo and Bogni sold out here in 1954. See, people forget about Bob Ellis. And, you know, Bob Ellis is 83 years old, and he's still alive. He's living in a home. Me and a friend of mine found him right up there in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and he's still there right now. He's kind of getting a little senile, but he remembered me a little bit. But those guys were making fortunes back in the 50s. And I'm talking about Columbus and Indianapolis and around in there. And he had a station wagon. He traveled with gimmicks from town to town, selling boots. Boots, I'm talking about little keychain boots and stuff like that. He made a fortune in selling handkerchiefs and hats and all kinds of stuff. So, but Snyder and Bruiser and Gagne and Mighty Atlas and all these guys off at Chicago TV, which was the first TV I ever saw. I don't know, Susie, where you first saw it. Probably Fritz. But my first TV, I was standing in Western Auto window looking in at Weatherford, Texas, at Chicago TV, and they went nationwide, and that's the first one I ever saw. I said, "Golly, look at those guys!"
Yeah, the big time.
yeah, that is the time. And Felix, you wouldn't even understand that time. There was no TVs. You didn't even have a TV in your house. And we finally, my stepdad went and got one, and it was Crusader Rabbit and wrestling. That's all there was. So you could see.
You know, I was going to ask you guys if it ever was able to be done, would you two ever consider doing an actual podcast together, like a show together, just you two, just on here talking about
something,
wrestling stories, maybe even talking about your churches as well? I mean, I think it'd be a great idea for you guys to work together on that kind of project.
I don't do shows. I haven't done any shows. Susan Green is the only person, I don't know why, my bond from years ago, that I'll ever make an appearance with. I'm not too good at health now. I have a little problem. I had a real serious diving accident. I was a commercial diver. I'm talking about deep sea diver. And I was diving on a ship, and I burst a lung. And this guy came up real fast, and I grabbed him, and I had to go down, and I had what I call a pulmonary embolism, and I passed it. Anyway, I can't breathe very well, so I have to have somebody kind of usher me around, be with me in case something happens. Barry usually takes me everywhere I go now, so I don't even go, so I have quit going, and maybe Greg will ask me to go this year. I've turned him down 4 or 5 times in a row, and as
far as the podcast goes, though, Blackjack is what I was referring to is kind of something like we're doing now.
We're
just kind of all sitting down, just talking on the radio and just having fun.
Sure. Well, we're doing
something
it
like
that.
I mean, you guys have had great careers in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
And I bet you guys have some crazy road stories that you guys have already started to tell, and probably a lot more to even come.
Well, Felix, we'll just use it for a plug. Anybody out there wanting to book us, put me and Susie together, and we'll make you a deal together. Maybe I can talk her into doing a show somewhere. How about that?
Well, there you go.
We're on Facebook. We're not hard to find. You may have to listen to us try to save you, try to get you to come over our way, but that's part of the price. God bless everybody, man.
I was going to actually tell you guys, do you know that, the NWA is still kind of out there still. I mean, it's not as hot as it used to be back in the day, back in your guys' day, or even in the 80s, really. but it's being run right now by their current president, which is Bruce Tharp.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Do you guys know who he is or not?
Oh, sure, I know Bruce Tharp. I know Bruce Tharp from years ago. He used to pick me up at the airport in my plane. We had a plane that flying to Miami. I know him very, very well. Where is he at now?
He's actually he's running NWA right now with his taking trips to Japan quite frequently. Actually, Austin could tell you a little bit more.
Yeah, he recently just came back just a few days ago from Wrestle Kingdom, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Rob Conway was the worldweight champion, and actually Sachio Koma, I don't know how to pronounce the Japanese last names, but is now the NWA worldweight champion.
Okay.
It was pretty cool.
You know,
yeah,
he's keeping it somewhat relevant, keeping that company going, and I really think that, you know, they can really be as good as they were back then. If he could, continuing on, they're working with Japan quite frequently, and they're still doing some traveling around, doing it like the Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana areas, and so forth. But I was wondering, have you guys ever caught any of the NWA shows at all?
All right, I'll be right there. I got a cow having the most beautiful calf right now. Oh my God! I'll be there in a minute, guys. Felix, I got to run, buddy. In just a second.
Okay.
Susan, honey, glad talking to you. And I got a cow. You know that. When it starts calving, she ain't going to wait.
Oh, no, she don't wait. They start having this.
Well, we appreciate you hanging with us, Blackjack.
Yeah, and Susan, I'll talk to you later, honey, about doing some shows together and stuff, okay?
Thanks so much, Blackjack.
God bless everybody. And remember, man,
thank you again, sir.
He's on his way, coming to get us. Bye. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was nice. Well, you know what, Susan, actually, we do have some more questions for you as well.
Okay.
Seeing some of the women today, I'm not sure if you pay attention to WWE TV and the TNA,
Yeah.
Do you see that there could be a chance that the women could actually get out there and actually put on a good wrestling match now? I mean, they're more preoccupied with looks than anything else. I mean, they give them out there about 2 to 3 minute matches, and it's nothing. I mean, there have been a very small handful of women that could have wrestled in the last 15, 20 years than there were back, years and years ago.
Oh, yeah. If you couldn't wrestle back whenever I started in 60s, 70s, and 80s, you were sent home. You didn't make it. And now, probably one of the criteria that they want you to say you're going to do is that you have a breast enlargement. Because you can tell that almost every one of them that steps in the ring have had them. And it's more into the TNA. It's, wear skimpier outfits and do more exposure, and it's not your ability that you know how to wrestle. It's your ability of being more sexual, getting in the ring, and the art of really wrestling has gone out the window with the girls today. And I've had a few girls come to my gym, and I start showing them, how to wrestle and, how to protect themselves when they fall. And they say, that hurts. I don't want to do that. I want to be like they do on the TV. And it's like, where you want to be a diva, and that's once in a lifetime chance. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time and get chosen. And then, of course, if you got the father or the uncle, like Anaya Hart, she's one heck of a wrestler. Now, Jacqueline, that was up there, the black girl, she was one heck of a wrestler. She was trained by Skandor Akbar, and I'd wrestled her before she went to New York. Actually, Chyna had come down when she was still going as Joni and worked out with me some. And, of course, I said, if you get signed with New York, they're going to try to get you to take steroids, because she was into all the natural fitness, aerobic training skills, and then had quite a few titles with that. And then, of course, when she got up there and became engaged with Triple H, she started using the steroids. There was no way she got that big without the use of chemicals.
Well, she also had her breasts done as well, too. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, they were done 2 or 3 times. You know, one of them, she was actually overseas, and they had to send her back when it popped.
Oh, wow.
But I said that was, you know, that was just, you know, it's unreal. You know, why put your body through something like that? But you know, once again, there's quite a few other girls, and I think Ashley, Rick's daughter, you know, she's down in TNA. I think she's trying to do more of the wrestling and show things, you know.
Actually, she's wrestling down there for the NXT that they're doing, where Dusty's actually watching over there in Orlando.
Okay.
I think is it Ashley? Yeah, it's Ashley Flair, right?
Yeah.
Austin?
Yes.
Well, let's say that's her real name, but she's going as Charlotte. That's her wrestling name.
Yeah.
That she's going as right now. But like I wanted to tell you that you actually, and unlike people like right now, with an exception of a few people in this world that are women's wrestlers, actually wrestle. I mean, you wrestled a match and did it so well. And what they're trying to do today is get models that don't know anything about wrestling, never watched in their lives, and try to turn the wrestlers. And that's not really working out for them. You've seen the formula isn't really, you know, coming out to be the outcome that they want it to be. And you said that when you're training your women, that you train them to be wrestlers, not divas.
Yeah, you know, and that's what I preach
to
my guys. Big Game, he did a SmackDown for WWE, and he came back and he said, you know, as much as I sit there and stress to them when we're training, I said, we got to wrestle. Y'all got to learn the top wrist lock from a hammer lock to a headlock to a step over toe hold to a Boston Crab to a single Boston Crab to a full Nelson. And it's like, why do you name all these names? And I said, because I just named holes. You know, and you need to know these holes. You know, y'all are wanting to just crisscross. Y'all want to throw each other in the turnbuckles. You want to jump up and down. You want to go join Ringling and Barney Circus. You know, if you want to do all the flying around, you know, get you a trapeze. But that's not what it is out here. And of course, when Big Game came back, he sat there and told the guys, he said, you know, they want you to wrestle. They don't want to see all this stuff. They're going to see that you know how to wrestle, and then they will program you to what they want you to do once you get out there. But you have to be able to wrestle.
And that's, I think, the only wrestling that there is technical wrestling. You know, that's the only you know, wrestling in a ring where you're, you know, hold to hold, you know, and just everything.
Well, there was actually, if you remember Austin too, there was Nora Greenwald, where Molly Holly, she's a beautiful girl, but I mean, she was an actual wrestler. Yeah. She was kind of used to be made fun of because she was a little bit more curvier than some of the women. You can look at Kia Stevens, who was a big girl. She's lost some of the weight, but I mean, she can move.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned China earlier too. I mean, the thing is that there's a very few handful, and I even can include in this Medusa. She don't wrestle anymore, but I mean, she used to, and she was really good at it.
Yeah.
You know, very few women from my generation, which was in the 80s and 90s, that actually could wrestle.
Yeah.
You know, now it's just like Austin said, it's just models.
Well, Medusa got really good once she went and did a three-month stitch in Japan. You know, she could do her stuff here whenever she was working for Vern and worked some for Moolah. But after she broke loose from both of them and did a 3-month tour of her own in Japan, and that's whenever she came back and Vince picked her up again. You know, she came back and she knew what she was doing, you know. Before Vince actually picked her up, I ended up having a few matches with her, and I was surprised. I said, well, you know, you weren't this good when you was in AWA. And she just, huh? And I thought, you know, all you wanted to do is headlock. You know.
The matches that you had with Fabulous Moolah were awesome, off the chain. I mean, and you actually trained by her. I mean, a little bit. You said that you were trained by Joe Blanchard, but also taken in the wing of Moolah for a bit.
Yeah. Well,
and you said you actually got to wrestle Mae Young a little bit too.
Yeah. I got one match with Mae Young. Joe sent me out there, and I think he ended up telling Cora and Mae, you know, beat her up, just don't break anything. You know, just make her want to quit. And the fight that they put in me, it just made me want to stay. That I can get tougher, I can get meaner. Because they had me at 112 pounds because I was still in school, and I was a swimmer and a tennis player. So I was staying lean because of the swimming and tennis, to where they didn't stress on having as much muscle as they do nowadays in those sports. But I said that it just gave me the will to show them that I was, I could get tougher, I could get meaner. And then Roy Showers in San Francisco, he was one of my best territories to work. Of course, I only worked 3 weeks out of the year for him, but got paid very well. He wanted me to be different whenever I went out there the second time, and I thought, well, I am different. I'm 6 foot. And he said, no, I want you to be over 200 pounds. And I thought, Lillian's not going to like that, because she wanted us under 135. So he ended up giving me a meal. Well, he gave me a $200 a week to eat on, and I sat there and told Donna and Tony Rose and Donna Christentello, I said, well, we'll get a kitchenette. You all cook, and we'll all eat. Because they said, we can all eat on $200. And I thought, well, that's about the way I was thinking. So they ended up cooking us meals, and me putting on the weight that Roy Shires wanted me to. So whenever we came back to do another 3-week tour, he said, now you look like a wrestler. And I thought, okay. And now we just have to explain why I'm this big whenever I get back to Lillian's. But he bought me a gym membership and the whole thing to where, I was putting the weight on right, but he didn't make me look a lot stronger whenever I was fighting.
And like Blackjack was saying earlier, that people that had to get their heat in the ring, not by doing any poses or extravagant, flare moves. They had to do it by, really beating up their opponent and showing the crowd what they're gonna, what they're doing to, I'm trying to explain this, but that's exactly the same thing you did,
Yeah. It took all your actions in the ring of what you did and why you did it to get the people either to like you or not to like you.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, they didn't let you do all the hollering and screaming and kicking the ropes. They wanted you to make the actions against the person that you were sitting there fighting to get the people behind you. That's
one of the old school. William Regal was he actually wrestled Antonio Cesaro a few weeks ago in NXT. Those guys have some brutal matches. William Regal is one of the guys that, if you talk about people that show, their actions speak louder than words, he is an ultimate definition of that. He's a mastermind.
Oh yeah.
And
yes,
he's also
he's one of those,
learned at a young age.
He is. Yeah, but you sit there and say, the ones that can wrestle, they will wrestle to show the young ones that they don't know nothing. But then you got to keep them entertained, and they think that everybody wants to see you to do these flips, and it's so easy to coming off those top ropes, misjudging on a flip, or your foot slipping whenever you go to do those flips, and you break your neck or your back. Well, you just about filled your fate that you're not going to work anymore.
Yep. And some of the people that technically that did the technical wrestling, or the guys that are still wrestling today, and the people that are doing all the extravagant moves, or people that are on the sidelines.
Oh yeah.
And what did it feel like, Susan, to be inducted into the NWA Hall of Fame when they wanted to put you in? How did it feel? I guess I should put it to you that way.
I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe that anybody really believed, that I was still around, that they really wanted to get me in there, and honored, that people still remember me, and whenever I go to the Fan Fest, I guess Sonny and Deborah saw me, and I went over to introduce myself. Well, I didn't know them. You know, I just knew they had the table set up and had pictures out, so I went to introduce myself. And, of course, Sonny made the mistake of calling me a diva. And we're standing there in front of all the fans, and, you know, she said, "You're the original diva." And I thought, oh, no, I'm not. I was always a wrestler, never a diva. And the fans actually cheered me, you know. And I said, and she said, "Excuse me, you're right. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time." You know, and I felt it's people now, whenever some of the young ones that are coming back from being divas, whenever promoters get them to sign against me, the first thing they say when they get back in the dressing room, you know, "You hit too hard." I thought,
really?
You know, I'm hitting the way I hit. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to hurt you. I hit you with a forearm, and if legitimately I could beat you to death with a forearm, and my arm would get tired before it would hurt you. You know, if you knew how to take it.
And that's what I want, because in a few years I want to actually get into professional wrestling, but I don't want to be trained any, you know, the way I want to be trained how you guys are trained, you and Blackjack, you know, and that's the way that I want to be brought up.
Yeah, when Vern Gagne's,
old school right there.
Vern Gagne's gym was, you know, he actually had ropes, but not really a mat down, but you know, you didn't hit the ropes. You just stayed in there and you wrestled. You had the ropes to keep you in the square. I've actually got the ring that I trained in my gym. I had to cut the post down because I would have had to put a 30-foot ceiling in, and I thought, you know, putting a 24-foot ceiling in was enough. I'll just cut some of the corner post off to make it shorter to the ground, you know, to where I don't have to build a building so high. But you know, it's I try to tell my guys when I'm training them and the girls whenever they hang around that you know, they need to know how to wrestle, because what you see here in the States ain't what you're going to be needed or wanted to be done over in the other countries, you know.
You need to write a book. You need to. Yeah. I would love to read it. Same with Blackjack. I know he wrote the Insane Asylum book, but I want him to write one about just, you know, what we're talking about right now, all this exercise. This means so good. That's why, I mean, I think people that are listening in right now would agree that this is probably one of the best interviews. I mean, you guys tell it.
Well, see, that's just one thing I wanted to point out too, is that, you know, when we got Blackjack on last year, he had said something that kind of stuck with me. Even now, when we brought him back, he says, you know, I didn't think anybody really cared about the old school. I said, you'd be surprised how many fans really, really love and appreciate what you guys did to pave the way for the stars for today. You know, without you guys, these guys wouldn't be as big as they are. You know?
Oh yeah, you know. Yeah, this past March I actually did a benefit for a group in Mobile, Theodore, Alabama, actually. And the people were just surprised whenever I went out, you know, and got the people involved in my fight. And luckily, Misty James, you know, she does know old school wrestling to some degree, you know. And the people just couldn't believe that I was able to do what I did because they didn't think that I wrestled. And I thought, why would I have a jacket and a hat and boots and tights if I didn't know how to wrestle? And
there you go.
The two young guys that walked out with me, of course, I go walking out to Tanya Tucker's It's a Little Too Late song, and I was doing the two-step, and I pull people up to do the two-step with me. And then these two young guys were sitting there saying, how'd you know to do that? And I thought, oh, my God. When you walk through, you need to be clapping your hands. You need to be doing something that, you know, you've got to get the people involved in what you're doing. And the quicker you can, the more the people are going to see that you are something.
Yeah.
But it is, And they also, if people want to try to get hold of me, I do have some people that have me posted with my gym, which my name of my gym is the Gym of Pain and Glory. I've actually had a girl that came. Yeah, if you can take the pain, I can give you the glory. So their biggest deal is, I tell them after they train for a day, if you wake up in the morning and can't wait to come back out, then you got what it takes to be a wrestler. And I had one young lady that stayed with me about 2 months, and then she was training 4 days a week. And I sit her down and said heart to heart, and I said, you need to go in. It's not in your heart. And, of course, she said it was in her heart. I said, no, it's not in your heart. It's in your head. You think you want to wrestle, but it's not in your heart because you don't want to fall down. And you're going to get knocked down, and you got to be able to get up. And she ended up going back and really talking. And both her parents are doctors up in Virginia, and she had the heart-to-heart, and I said she didn't show up on Monday. Well, she didn't show up on Tuesday. Well, I ended up driving over where she lived because she wasn't that far from me. She rented a trailer, and I drove up, and I said, told the guys, I said, because I could tell the trailer looked empty. I said, could you tell me where the young lady went? Oh, she owe you money. I said, no. We were just supposed to have lunch, and I was wondering, well, her parents came down, and she moved back to Virginia over the weekend. I said, oh, okay. Well, a couple of weeks later, it was going to be my birthday. This was like the end of July, and birthday's August 13th. I got a birthday card and said, that she couldn't face me face to face to tell me that I was right. That it wasn't in her heart, that it was just really in her head. The young lady is now a doctor.
Wow.
So her. Because I said, what did you do in school? Oh, chemistry and biology, and I thought, I think you're more in the being a chemist, or you have something else that you're good at, and but she went back to school and now a doctor. So she's making the living and can say that she tried, and that she got to meet some of the wrestlers. Whenever they came to town, but I said that, that if it's not in your heart, wrestling is not going to last. I mean, you can't make your brain do something that your heart don't want to do.
Exactly.
And there's the wrestlers. I mean, wrestlers in general are some of the most unique people you actually talk to and be around. Everybody that's a wrestler usually, they have a personality that's unmatched by other people. But there has to be something a little off in your head to get into wrestling. But that's what makes you want to do it. Just to fall down, to fall back in your like we're talking about Pat Tanaka a few last month was saying that people that don't want to do it back bump stuff like that and or scared to fall down, they're not going to last in doing professional wrestling.
Well, he was also trained by Hiro Matsuda as well, and Matsuda was brutal with him.
Same guy that trained Hulk Hogan.
Exactly.
It's a brutal business. I mean, you sit there and in my day, if you blew your knee out, you didn't get put on waivers. You didn't get 6 weeks off to let your knee heal. If you didn't go to the ring, you didn't wrestle. So you just taped your knee up, or you taped your ankle up, and you did what you did. Help, and get back on your feet and stay out there. And of course, promoter would sit there and say, well, if you can't go to the ring, I'm just going to get another girl, going back where you came from. Well, I'll take it up, And back in my day, they didn't like the girls to wear knee pads or elbow pads, because promoters sat there and said the men come to see the women's bodies. They expected you to be covered up with a one-piece bathing suit, but they wanted to see your body, your legs and your arms, so don't be wearing all the leggings and pads and knee pads and elbow pads and all. So whenever I blew my knee out in a motorcycle accident, I said I had a tough time. I'd go hopping into the arenas and get morphine shots so I could walk out to the ring, and then I'd be dying for the next day till I was able to get another morphine shot to be able to have the match and walk. And all I could sit there and say, please don't have me booked. So I said, I was hopping around for 6 months because I was on the road 6 months, and I said, finally I got a month off to give the knee some time to heal. But I said I never thought I was going to be able to walk right after tearing all the ligaments in my knee.
Did it ever heal up correctly?
Yeah.
Or is it still bad right now?
Well, I actually had that knee replaced back in 2009. But I got mugged on my 9-to-5 job. I was a zoning inspector for the city of Columbia out in South Carolina. And last thing he did was stomp my knee when I played dead. When I realized that he was not going to let me turn to face him to fight him, that he kept kicking me and beating me from behind, I just played dead.
Yeah.
And before he left, he ended up stomping my knee and stomping my shoulder, and I had to have my shoulder replaced also. But I said how I kept from screaming when he stomped it, I have no earthly idea. But I guess I figured he was going to kill me. I'd be played dead already. But didn't rob me.
That happens when with a bunch of wrestlers that came on here. They say the exact same thing, that there's things that you couldn't do in your training that you can do when you're in a ring in front of a crowd. There's the adrenaline factor is a big part of it. I mean, you can probably say the same thing, that like you were just explaining with that you don't understand how you wouldn't scream. You know, I guess adrenaline was really firing up. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, Bob was talking about or Blackjack was talking about all the guys that came in, Mexican guys that were there. Joe and Boyd was very good, and Johnny Valentine actually came in early and worked out with me one time. Never been hit so hard in my life whenever he gave me that hammer. And then Bobby Shane had came in, and he said he wanted me to be able to do the drop kick and turn and then land on my stomach instead of landing on my back and do the head scissors. Well, everybody sits there and says I copy Robert Gibson's head scissors, and I said, no. I've been wrestling longer than Robert. He copies me.
Yes.
And I copied Bobby Shane because Bobby Shane taught me how to do the head scissors. But I said
we have to have you guys back on in the future. We got to do it. Because this was really awesome. I'm not only on. I was going to say I know Felix and everybody else listening tonight. You really had something special here.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, and you getting the chance to talk with Blackjack for the first time in a while. I'm sure. I mean, getting you guys on the same line to talk and reminisce about old times and.
Oh yeah.
I hope you did have a good time tonight. I mean, going back and reliving some of your highlights of your careers, working together, starting out, just kind of looking back and laughing, and be like, "Damn, did we just do that?"
Yeah, we did.
But you know, keep on doing what you're doing, and you know what? I was going to ask you: do you have pictures of your school on your website, on your Facebook?
There are some on there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, you have obviously the Facebook. Is there a website that they can look up to see your school or anything like that?
Pull up Jim of Fame and Glory, and they'll be able to see some of the stuff I've got inside. Yeah, whenever I get back home, I'll put some more of my recent stuff in this since I've done some remodeling. But once again, it's not the prettiest thing. It's a gym, and we're in there to learn to wrestle. We ain't in there to impress anybody.
Hey, you say the same exact thing about the Sportatorium. It was a hot place and terrible. Well, not to say terrible, but it's a historic place. But at the same time, it did its job, and you guys are what you are today because of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Susan, actually, I wanted to ask you. Well, no, you know what? We have a call on hold here. Will you be okay with taking a call?
Sure.
coming from area code 803. I'll go ahead and bring him on. Hello, you're on the air with NWA Hall of Famer Susan Green. Did you have a question for her?
Susan.
Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
She can hear you. Go ahead.
This is Big Hoss. I was calling in to chat with you for a minute. How are you?
Oh, hey, Hoss, how you doing? Great.
I'm doing great.
I told on you.
You got me in good stories.
Yeah. No, it's. I'm glad you're listening. But yeah, Bob got a giggle out of me making you get sick.
Yeah, one of Susan's trainees. I'm Big Hoss. She broke me into the business.
Oh, you're the one with the double cheeseburger or the double Whopper?
I was the one with the double Whopper.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah. Wait, so
what was it like working with her? I mean, getting in the ring with Susan, she's no nonsense, I'm sure.
No, whatever she's telling you, all that's the truth. Old school, when I got in the ring with her, when she put her hands on you, you knew it, all the women that I've been in the ring with, I've been getting my butt kicked by women since I've been growing up. I grew up with 3 sisters, got into the wrestling business and got my butt kicked by Susan, so. But you know what? I love getting beat up by a woman, so my wife kicks my butt to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But her gym, the Pain and Glory, I trained there for numerous months and still there. I still go over there and she gets in the ring with us and, beats us up. You no matter how long you've been in the business, when you get around a veteran like Susan, you're always bound to learn something new.
That's true. You never stop learning.
We work out, 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes even longer than that, a couple hours, from 1 or 2 hours to 6 or 7 hours in the gym in there because I wanted to learn so much from her, and she put me through the test, and she got me where I'm at today, and I'm in a good position right now, and everything's going great.
That's awesome.
And I mean, you're really lucky because you have one of the best teachers you can have because she is, and I know you know this. I mean, everybody listening to this who's watched Susan before, one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time, without a doubt. I mean, hands down. And that's my opinion about it, and I think Felix is too. I mean, you are one of the best.
Well, thank you.
Oh yeah, she, without a doubt, she's, if not the best, she's in that top. She's in the top 5 or.
Top
depending on
women wrestling.
Depending on who's talking, you know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Absolutely.
She wrestled really, really well. I mean,
she's not a diva. She's a wrestler.
Exactly. And I don't want to say she's a diva because when she comes back, she'll probably make me take about 50 or 60 bumps, But when we started training over there, we put her ring through a tough time. Me being a big guy, I'm like 450, and when I was training over there, we put her ring through the test, and she's had to replace the ring a couple times underneath the steel that's up underneath the ring, and the apron a couple times because us big glutes over there wrestling around and stuff like that, and taking our bumps and learning the trade of pro wrestling through her. We took a toll on the ring too. So.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, we appreciate you calling in, man. Did you have any other questions or anything else you want to mention to Susan?
I want to say hello to her, and I can't wait for her to get back here to South Carolina, and we can start training back over at the gym of Pain and Glory.
Okay. There you go.
All right, we'll see you soon, Furman.
All right, well, good talking with you.
You bet.
Thanks for calling in, man.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Well, that was cool. That was a nice little...
Yeah.
And it just so happens he heard the story about when eating before you train and not is a big no-no.
Oh yeah. He learned not to do that anymore.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we were able to get you on here and you and Blackjack together. And Austin's right. We definitely would love to have you come back in the future and tell us how you're doing. If what new happenings are going on with your school at the moment. Anything you feel like you want to just throw a shout out or whatever, just let us know. If you have some free time in the future, we'd love to have you back.
Okay, sounds good to me.
But for now, we thank you so much for taking this time to sit down and just talk about everything tonight. And it was definitely an honor of ours to have you and to get you on with your old buddy. And I think that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun for the fans and listening in, myself and Austin included. We didn't have to say much. We just let you guys talk.
I love that.
But, you guys have some stories. We'd love to hear more about them later. But any final comments you have, Austin?
Yes, I want to say, thank you so much for everything you've done in your career. I truly respect everything you've done, and please, I would love to, like Felix was saying, for you guys to come back on, because this is truly something special the fans got tonight.
Well, get us together again, and we'll be. I'm sure that Bob will be just as happy as me to be able to talk again. Share some more of our stories. Okay.
There you go. You have yourself a great night.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right.